Is it more logical to buy a house? Or to stay renting and invest the difference? When you search for an answer to this question online, you usually see two different worlds. One side says, rent is money that's completely thrown away. The other side says, buying a house is the biggest obstacle to financial freedom. And the funny thing is, both sides are more than sure of themselves. But real life isn't as simple as a 30-second finance tip. So today I'm going to tell you the story of two people. Imagine both of them are 32 years old. Both earn $80,000 a year. Both have $80,000 in savings. They live in the same city. So they're starting the game from almost the same place. But one buys a house. The other stays renting. And I will follow these two people for 20 years. Mortgage payments. Rent increases. Repairs. Investments. Opportunity cost. And in the end, we'll look at this question: who really built more wealth? Because the result you're about to see may challenge both the idea that owning a home always wins and the idea that renting is always smarter. Let's begin. William is 32. He likes a bit of order in his life. He wants to have a plan. He likes knowing where he's going. He wants to own his own home. He wants a garage. He probably won't use that garage properly for years. But he still wants it. James is different. He loves flexibility. He doesn't know where he'll be living 5 years from now. And honestly, he's not bothered by not knowing that. If he finds a good job in another city, he wants to move. If a new opportunity comes up, he wants to take it. So for William, stability matters. For James, options matter. And sometimes our personality decides our financial choices before math does. William finds a $350,000 house. He puts down $70,000. Exactly 20%. That leaves a $280,000 mortgage. But there's a small detail most people forget when buying a house. The down payment isn't the whole bill. There are closing costs, bank fees, appraisal, title fees, prepayments, and about 46 documents you have to sign. You probably don't know what half of them are, but you sign them. Let's assume closing costs here are $10,000. William has used up his $80,000 before he even gets the keys. $70,000 down payment. $10,000 closing costs. And now the 30-year, 7% interest mortgage begins. Monthly principal and interest payment is about $1,863. But wait, owning a home's bill doesn't end here. About $350 property tax, $150 home insurance, and about $290 a month for maintenance. Total, about $2,653 every month. Now let's look at James. James rents a similar 3-bedroom house in the same area for $2,000. So he pays about $653 less each month than William. James has no property tax, no homeowner's insurance. And when the water heater breaks on a Saturday morning, he doesn't think, how am I going to cover the budget this month? Because that expense belongs to the landlord. James now has an interesting option in front of him. An extra $653 every month. And also the $80,000 he didn't spend on buying a house. I can guess most people's reaction here. $653? Great. Vacation time. And let's be honest. The Thailand idea doesn't sound bad for a moment. But James makes a different decision. He puts his $80,000 into a broad stock index fund. And he also sends the $653 leftover from rent into the same investment every month. At first glance, James's plan looks great. Lower housing cost. $80,000 investment. Extra $653 investment every month. But right here comes the classic line from the homeowner side. Yes, but James can't get back the $2,000 he pays in rent. William, on the other hand, becomes a homeowner by paying his mortgage. True. But that's not the whole story. Because not all of your mortgage payment is wealth. Especially in the early years. William pays about $1,633 in mortgage interest in the first month. $350 tax. $150 insurance. $290 maintenance. Total housing cost is about $2,653. So what really builds his equity? About $230. So he spends $2,653, but only a small portion of it accumulates in the house. The rest? Interest, tax, insurance, maintenance. This is why the sentence, "rent is money thrown away," isn't enough on its own. Because owning a home is also spending money. It's just that alongside some of the expenses, an asset is built. And now the real comparison begins. Let's go forward 3 years. William has made 36 mortgage payments. The mortgage balance has dropped to about $270,835. So he's paid a little over $9,000 in principal. Then let's say the home's value rose 3 to 4% annually. The $350,000 house is now worth about $382,000 to $394,000. William's home equity is about $112,000 to $123,000. This is real wealth. But James hasn't been idle either. He paid $72,000 in rent over 3 years. Yes, this money didn't earn him home equity, but his initial $80,000 stayed invested. And he invested $653 more every month. Assuming an average annual return of 10%, his portfolio could reach about $130,000. And here's the first surprising result. After 3 years, neither one is clearly ahead. William has about $112,000 to $123,000 in home equity. James has about $130,000 in an investment portfolio. William has a house. James has liquid investments. William can paint the wall whatever color he wants whenever he wants. James can move to another city whenever he wants. 2 different lives. 2 different financial structures. And we're still just at the beginning of the road. Now let's look at what time does. William's mortgage principal and interest payment stays fixed. But the total cost of homeownership isn't entirely fixed. Property tax can rise. Insurance can get more expensive. Maintenance costs can grow as the house ages. On James's side, there's rent. It starts at $2,000. Then it rises about 3%. $2,000. $2,060. $2,122. Then a bit more. Seems insignificant at first. But this is one of finance's little jokes. Small numbers stop being small once they keep coming back again and again. Investments grow compounded. Rent also grows compounded. One grows your wealth. The other grows your cost of living. And as the years pass, the initial $653 advantage gradually shrinks for James. But James still has a very strong card. The initial $80,000. And that money is working in the market for 20 years. This is what we call opportunity cost. When you put money somewhere, you're actually giving up using it somewhere else. William put $80,000 into the house. James put $80,000 into the market. Both are using the money, but they're buying different things. William is buying housing security and equity. James is buying liquidity and investment growth. Without understanding this distinction, doing the renting versus buying math stays incomplete. Now let's go forward 10 years. William is 42. If the home's value rose 3 to 4% annually, it's now worth about $470,000 to $518,000. The mortgage balance is about $240,000. William's equity is about $230,000 to $278,000. He now really has a serious asset. But over these 10 years, the house also prepared some small surprises for him. Something broke. He fixed it. Then something else broke. He paid again. At one point he opened a "How to Fix a Water Heater" video on YouTube. For hours later it still wasn't working. And in the end, he called a real technician. A few $100s gone. The good side of homeownership is this: the house is yours. The bad side is also this: the problems are yours too. James's portfolio keeps growing. The initial $80,000 has been invested for years. Every month he also invests the remainder of the rent advantage. Assuming an average annual return of 10%, his total portfolio could reach about $290,000. And now the picture starts to change. James is still strong in liquid assets. But William's home equity has also grown seriously. And rent? It's no longer $2,000. It's gotten close to about $2,700. William's mortgage principal and interest payment is about $1,863. Time is now rewarding both sides in different ways. And now 20 years, William and James are 52 years old. At this point, we can now see the big consequences of small decisions. If William's house has appreciated 3 to 4% annually, it could be worth about $632,000 to $767,000. Mortgage balance is about $160,000. That means home equity of about $472,000 to $607,000. On James's side, there's compound growth. The initial $80,000 investment, assuming a 10% average annual return, could alone reach about $538,000. And this doesn't include the monthly investments he made over the years. When you add those, James's total portfolio could reach about $750,000. Now let's pause, because here we could easily make a mistake. James 1. Done. But no, not yet. Because the shape of the wealth matters as much as its amount. James's money is liquid. He can sell part of it. If he needs $20,000, he can cash out a portion of his portfolio. William can't sell 8% of his kitchen. Though if he tried, it would make for an interesting listing. William's wealth is real, but it's inside the house. And this brings us to an important point. Home equity is wealth, but it isn't cash. Now let's talk about James's problem. Rent. If it rises 3% over 20 years, the initial $2,000 rent could reach about $3,600. And William's mortgage has an end date. James's rent doesn't. It could continue even in retirement. This doesn't completely erase James's investment advantage, but it's a major cost that has to be factored in. When William's mortgage ends, he leaves behind a large part of his housing cost. That's why the 20-year calculation isn't just the question, which payment is cheaper. The real question is, where does this payment take you 20 years later? But William has another risk too. Concentration. James's investment portfolio may hold thousands of companies. William's large wealth is in a single house, in a single neighborhood, in a single city. If the area grows, William wins. If the area struggles economically, Ryan feels it directly. James can diversify his portfolio. William can't sell part of his bathroom to rebalance his portfolio. There's also liquidity. When James needs $20,000, he can sell an investment. When William needs $20,000, things get a bit harder. He can take out a loan. He can borrow against equity. He can consider refinancing. Or he can sell the house. But none of these are as easy as I made a call, $20,000 is in my account. Now let's get to the side of the calculation that's usually invisible. Human behavior. James's strategy only works under one condition. He actually has to invest the difference. Every month. For years. When the market rises. When the market falls. Even when the news says the end of the world has come. Because Excel has one feature. Excel doesn't get scared. Humans get scared. Excel doesn't say, let me take a vacation this month. Humans do. Excel doesn't want a new car. Humans do. And if James one day starts spending the $653 instead of investing it, the theoretical investment advantage slowly disappears. 1 month. Then 2. Then a year. And 10 years later, the millions of dollars on the spreadsheet might still just be on the spreadsheet. This is where the behavioral advantage of a mortgage shows up. A mortgage creates a kind of forced savings. William doesn't think every month, should I build equity this month? The payment is going to happen anyway. And this is sometimes stronger than math. Because personal finance isn't just a money calculation. It's a human behavior calculation. But buying also has weak points. First, time. If William sells the house after 3 years, the result could be very different. Closing costs. Selling costs. The high interest of the early years. All of these can reduce the gain. That's why buying a house is usually a long-term decision. If you're going to move in 3 years, buying may not be as good as you think. Second, freedom of movement. If James finds a great job in another city, moving is relatively easy. William has to make a decision about his house. Will he sell it? Rent it out? Keep paying the mortgage? Also pay rent in the new city? Suddenly two housing costs can appear. Third, concentration risk. A house is a single asset, a single market, a single location. Fourth, liquidity. Home equity can be valuable, but it's not easy to use. So buying a house can't be calculated with just how much is the monthly mortgage. You have to look at the total cost. So now let's go back to the main question. Renting or buying? I'm not going to tell you here, definitely buy a house. Because this decision depends on your life. If you're going to stay in the same place for 7, 10, even 15 years, buying can become much more attractive. Because you spread the buying costs over a long time. Mortgage principal decreases. The house may appreciate. And while rent rises, the fixed mortgage payment can become more valuable over time. But what if home prices are extremely high relative to rents? Renting may be more logical, especially if you're actually investing the difference. There's a simple tool you can use here, price-to-rent ratio. You divide the price of the house by the annual rent amount. A $350,000 house. $24,000 annual rent. $350,000/24,000. About 14.6. This gives you a quick idea. As the ratio rises, renting can become more competitive. But don't decide based on this number alone. Mortgage interest matters. Tax matters. Insurance matters. Maintenance matters. Expected investment return matters. And how long you're going to stay matters a lot. There's also this. Actually, buying and renting aren't each other's enemy. You can buy a house and also invest at the same time. You can rent and invest. You can even wait for a while. The biggest mistake in personal finance is sometimes not choosing the wrong option. It's thinking an option that doesn't suit you is the right one. William values stability. James values flexibility. William builds his wealth largely in his house. James in the financial markets. William's plan is strong if he stays in the same place for a long time. James's plan is strong if he keeps his investment discipline. So at the end of 20 years, the winner isn't decided just by house or rent. It's decided by behavior. That's why I now listen to this sentence with a bit of doubt. Rent is money thrown away. Because this sentence is too easy. But finance isn't made of easy sentences. The renter pays rent. The homeowner pays interest. Pays tax. Pays insurance. Pays maintenance. And sometimes waits for the roof to send them a little $12,000 surprise. Both are paying for housing. Just in different ways. The real issue, how much of your money goes to housing? How much builds wealth? And what risks you're taking? So before buying a house, ask 2 questions. 1. How many years will I really live in this house? 2. If I stay renting, will I really invest the difference? Answer the second question especially honestly. Because on Excel, everyone is Warren Buffett. In real life, though, sometimes we see the $653 and say, I won't invest this month. And this is usually how the things that change 20-year results start small. 1 decision. 1 habit. 1 repetition. Then years. And finally, a big difference. The lesson I take from William and James's story is this. Buying a house doesn't automatically make you rich. Staying renting doesn't automatically make you free either. A house is an asset, but it has costs. Rent is a cost, but it can give you flexibility. Investment is liquid, but it requires discipline. A mortgage can create forced savings, but it ties you to a single asset. So the right answer isn't a single word. It depends on context. And maybe the right financial question isn't, should I buy a house or stay renting? The better question is, how will this decision I make today shape my life 20 years from now? Because a $350,000 house isn't just a $350,000 decision. And rent isn't just the monthly rent either. Behind both of them, there's opportunity cost. There's compound growth. There's behavior. There's risk. And there's time. That's where the real math is. Now I'm going to ask you something. Same income. Same $80,000 savings. Same city. Same age. If it were you, what would you do? Would you buy the $350,000 house? Or would you invest the $80,000 and stay renting? And more importantly, do you trust yourself to be disciplined enough to actually invest the difference? Don't just write buy or rent in the comments. Write your reason, because your answer might help someone else watching this video think through their own decision. If this video showed you something about buying a house that you hadn't thought about before, like the video, because this helps more people see this kind of real math. And subscribe. Our purpose here isn't to tell you get-rich-quick tales. It's to see together the real math behind the financial decisions we make in everyday life. Because sometimes the most expensive financial mistake isn't choosing the wrong investment. It's making a decision that looks right for the wrong life. See you in the next video.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our latest updates. Just click that bell